Welcome back, everyone. So, as you know, it is not easy to represent Israel in sport nowadays. So, for today's show, I invited Timna Nelson-Levy, who is Israel's judoka. She is a proud bronze Olympic medalist and the European champion. And today, I'd like to hear a little bit from her perspective what it's like to represent Israel in sports. Hi, Timna. Thank you for joining.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you for having me.
So, why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about your history, your background, where do you come from, where are you from in Israel? Your parents made Aliyah, so tell us a bit about
Yeah.
that.
So, two of my parents made Aliyah from the US, and I was born and raised in Jerusalem. I started judo very young. I was very energetic girl. I started when I was 6. I'm 31 right now. Um, Already when I was very young, in 2010, I started to train in the national team, which is in Wingate. So I used to drive back and forth to Netanya 3 times a week.
It's not easy. I just came from Herzliya. I know hour drive in traffic.
But I used to do it with a bus. I used to change like 3 buses. It was crazy. And in the army, I was elite athlete. And I've been doing judo since then.
Okay, so first I read that both your parents are athletes.
Well, they both of them not like elite athlete, but they both really liked doing sport.
Is that how it is at home? Because you're an elite athlete, so you make fun of them that they're not a.
No, we always we're very we do a lot at Sierras. My mom was a swimmer. She rides bikes all day long. My dad used to box. And now for fun they keep being active.
So you come from an active family, but how does a little girl in Israel, in Jerusalem, which is, a fairly conservative city, how do you get to a sport like judo?
So, like I said, I think I was a very energetic child, and I think my mom looked for somewhere to put all that energy to. So it will be, so I won't take it out at home, on my siblings. I think she sent me to the closest after school activity, and I fell in love with it right away. And very early on, this was like my dream to represent Israel to get to the Olympics. And not only that, to come back with an Olympic medal.
So was representing Israel, did that play a major role for you in why to go into professional sport, or was it more from your own personal kind of goal setting?
I grew up as a very, like, my parents are very Zionist. And they really, I think, this is something they, like, put into me, like, to love the country, to serve it. All my siblings went to the army. And it's something I grew up with. But I think as I was going through, as I was competing abroad and seeing what it is, feeling how it is, I really fell in love with it. And it made me just be proud of doing what I'm doing.
So how old were you the first time you went abroad to represent Israel?
Wow, I think probably I was 16, something like, I'm guessing around 16.
And how was it back then? So what year are we talking? To end of 2010s?
Something like maybe 2014, something like that.
Okay.
Um,
What was it like that back then?
well, then I was very young, and I needed to feel it out. Like, I didn't really know how big of a thing it is. But I think as the years went by, especially now during after the seventh, it really did something to me. I feel, um, and just the anti-Semitism going around, feeling it. If it's booing from the crowd, if it's just noises we hear, flags we see. Uh, it made me understand that what I'm doing is bigger than me. I'm representing not only myself, I'm representing the flag, the country, the Jewish people. And
So let's get to anti-Semitism in a bit. Let's put that aside for a sec. I'm very curious to know about the process. If you saw, so I saw on my university campus in Canada already in 2003 anti-Israel demonstrations. a lot of misinformation about Israel. I'm curious to know, I mean, we'll get to after October 7th and everything we've seen in the past years, but did you see something change in sport and how maybe other athletes or even the crowd or certain countries that you went to, did you start to pick up that there was misinformation or anything like that before October 7th?
Yes, absolutely. I think, of course, like as it went by, it
Progressed?
progressed. Thank you. But I think the biggest problem is um the disinformation. You know, people see for 1 second something on the TV, and that's what gets stuck in their head, and that's it. What hurt me a lot, you know, we host a lot of training camps here in Israel, and we host people from all over the world, and really close friends of mine. And to see them post something against us, that's what made me really sad because, you know, they know how it is. They know how, you know, we are to them and how we host them, and, you know, to hear them talk about stuff they have no idea, no clue about. Uh, that made me upset.
So for you, it's more about the way other athletes treated you as opposed to the crowd?
Yeah, because the crowd, you know, I'm sorry to say what I'm saying, but you know, sometimes I'm used to it. I'm used to the booing. I'm used to the, you know, crowd shouting stuff against us.
From before October
Well,
7th.
from before, but obviously more after. I saw in the men's team a lot people, you know, Arab country don't want to fight them, or even to me, you know, girls don't want to shake hands. So I feel it. I felt it, you know, through all my career. But
Did you ever feel it from a European colleague? Or was it
much less. No, not. I don't think even like trying to think about specific thing, but no.
how did the Abraham Accords change sport for you?
First of all, I think it was easier for us to get to Arab countries. Like we fly a lot to Abu Dhabi. Now I'm flying next week to Abu Dhabi for our competition. And now we're allowed to have Israel on our back while we're fighting. And before, I wasn't there before, but I know they weren't able to fight with Israel. They needed to cover the flag. And that's like the biggest thing we're proud of. You know, we like fighting with the flag on our hearts. So that was a good change. Still, we fly to these countries with security. Um, but
Have you managed to make any friends from those Arab countries?
we, you know, we nod. We say hello nicely with our heads. Some people react, some don't. But you know, unfortunately, this is what it is, and we need to deal with it.
Okay, so let's jump ahead now to October 7th. So, as someone who represented Israel in the Tokyo Olympics before and in Paris after, what was different between the two experiences?
Uh wow, two very crazy experiences because in the Olympics in Tokyo was the Corona time, so it was also an experience for itself. But you know, in the Tokyo Olympics, we came back as heroes. We brought back the bronze medal, and it was an amazing atmosphere. Um, and in Paris Olympics, I think to represent Israel in this day, like in the since October 7th, it's me personally. It gives me an extra, I don't know, like wind, you know, to fight, and it's really special. Um, you know, I know what our country's gone through. I have a lot of friends who were in the army. My oldest brother's serving, and just to feel that energy and to know like that I give some peace and some quiet to even if it's a few people. It's something that I loved. But on the negative side, you know, to Paris Olympics, we our security around us, it was um it was crazy. You know, in the village itself, outside. We went with security. I wasn't allowed even to go out the Olympic Village. But I think, you know, to represent Israel is probably the proudest thing for me.
So, I happened to be in Paris for the Olympics, and I was there with my 4 young children, and we went to the area in the middle of the Tuileries,
Yeah.
and we came with our Israeli flags. We came from home with little Israeli flags, and I took a picture with my kids, and I said, no one's gonna shut us up, and no one's gonna stop us.
Good for you.
And we did it, and people thought I was insane for doing that with my kids. But I kind of also felt that, then this is from my perspective, so I'm curious to hear what it was like on the other side from you guys, because obviously you had the security and everything. But social media, a lot of the times, makes it look like the whole world is against us, when in the ground, no one said one thing to us holding an Israeli flag. It's not that people were coming up to us and hugging us, but nobody said anything. And you know, m it was going it's not that I felt unsafe. The thoughts were in the back of my mind of keep your eyes open, because if somebody comes to, like, yell at you or attack you or whatever, get your kids out of the way. Like, first I was thinking safety for my kids, but none of that happened. I felt a little bit like almost I was too paranoid when I came. So, I'm curious to know if you came with that feeling also of that it's going to be so unsafe and people are gonna say things to you all the time, and then maybe you were pleasantly surprised like I was.
So first of all, I really understand what you feel because most of the countries we fly to, it's we feel completely safe and it's fine. But because the Olympics, obviously because what happened in Munich, but we go as a team who represents Israel. So obviously all the security, all the cameras, all the media are on us. So I think because it's it does so much noise, so we take precautions, which is needed in these days, especially. But when I go to different countries, I feel like I don't need all the security. It makes more of noise around us. Dafka to be like less is better. So um, I think the radical people who most of the countries it's safe. It's fine. We're going to Japan. We don't need security. I don't know if I'll stop a Japanese guy in the street. I don't know if he's gonna know how to point where Israel is. So I completely like understand you there, and I do feel it's safe. Even when we go to Abu Dhabi, one time we didn't go with security, it was fine. It's an Arab country, and I felt completely safe.
Many would argue that Abu Dhabi is safer for Israelis today
Abs-
than Berlin or
Absolutely, absolutely,
sure.
or Paris, But I think because we go as a team, uh, that's why the extra,
Of course.
caution.
Did you have any athletes who reached out to you after October 7th to just ask how you're doing?
I did. I did actually. I had even a few coaches reach out to me. And I think it's very touching because some of them were from I had a Turkish guy reach out to me, and to hear to hear a coach from Turkey come and say, Timna, how are you? I know you're going through a hard time. Um, it's special coming from him, you know. And a few friends from abroad, many from Europe, a few from Asia, of course.
Did you see any come out in support of Israel on their social medias?
Unfortunately, less. I saw more, again, friends who were in Israel many, many times, and who came against Israel. Um, and unfortunately, again, they see stuff on TV. This is what they see. This is which is not necessarily true. Um, but I can't change everybody's thinking. So
So I know that judo is a pretty big sport in countries like Iran, for example. How does that work?
good question. Well, first of all, Iran uh, doesn't have a women judo team. I know people who go out of there. They compete. It's called for like the refugee team. They compete for the refugee team, but we know some of them are from Iran. And unfortunately, I think Iran has crazy, crazy judokas. Many of which I love to watch. Um, I'm sure Saeed Mullah, the guy who competed against Sagi. He's one of the best athletes I know. Um, and for them, hopefully it will change because they have what to give for sports.
Do you feel like you have something in common with those athletes from Iran who have left Iran to be able to compete in sport?
I don't know if something in common. I think just to take an example of Said. Said was he's a very kind person. He always says hello to us. It's never like, when I first met him when I was young, it was like, wow, a guy from Iran, shaking my hand, saying hello. And, we now he's not competing anymore, but we used to talk, when we used to see each other, in competitions. And it was just a special experience for me because just to see how much love the people of Iran have for us, that was a beautiful thing to see.
I can share with you an experience that I had as being a Israeli influencer who was invited to Tokyo for a launch of a cosmetics product. And it was the first time that I was sent to the Asian market as opposed to the European market, which is where we're normally sent to for international launches. And I got in the room and I sat down beside, a nice looking woman and had beautiful makeup on. And we started, kind of talking about the makeup and the products. And I said to her, "Where are you from?" And I mean, my English is perfect. I don't necessarily look Israeli, right? I said, "Where are you from?" And she said, "Lebanon." And I said, "Oh, you're my neighbor." And she looks at me and she goes, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Israel." And without saying a word, she just got up and moved places.
Wow.
And it was a very difficult experience for me because I felt like,
Wow.
let's leave our politics or whatever it is aside. We're here for something shared, which is the love of makeup. And as an athlete, I'm assuming you go through very similar experiences where you're like, I'm a person, okay, maybe I am flying the flag, I'm carrying the flag of my country on my shirt and I'm here representing. But at the end of the day, I could have been born in France and had a French, flag on my shirt. I'm here for my love of judo and I'm here for my personal, experience. So can you think of an experience similar to that?
I just when you said that, I remembered something that happened to me. I was a junior many years ago, and we were in a training camp in Europe somewhere. But a few Arab countries was there. I think it was Tunisia, maybe actually maybe Iran. I think maybe Iran was also there, and Jordan, few Arab countries. And I fought against when there's a training camp, there's many athletes on like the mat, and you choose one. We look each other in the eye and we start like fighting each other. But it's like a friendly fight. It's not. So we start the fight. After I don't know, a minute goes by. She like looks in my back of my judogi and she sees Israel. She walks around and goes. And I was like, what just happened, So that was one experience I had. Um and yeah, for me, I have nothing, zero, like nothing against, I'm coming here to compete exactly like you do what you do. I'm coming here to do what I love, to be the best I can. And for me it's sad to see sometimes it's not their decision. Sometimes it's not the people's decision. It's people who are above them. And for that, I feel very sorry for them because, if you decide to do it, it's one thing. But if people decide for you not to compete for your country, for your flag, whatever, that's another thing. And unfortunately, it happens a lot.
So what about the next Olympics? Are we going to see you there?
Absolutely, that's
Yeah.
my goal. I have many competition before that. I'm going now to Abu Dhabi, like I said, then Tokyo. But and there's many European wars ahead, but that's the far goal. Yeah.
When you hear the anthem, do you
I have
cry?
I have goosebumps. Well, God, you know, I work so hard for what I do. I train twice a day, every day, and to reach to that moment when I'm in the top of the podium in the highest place and I see our flag, it gives me goosebumps.
Do you think it's
So,
like that for everyone, or it's especially like that for us?
I think to be honest, I think it's especially for us Israelis because I told you there's something extra when we fight. I think we were born to fight, in a good way and in a bad way. we've been through a lot, our people, and I think we have that extra fire in us. So absolutely, it's like the most exciting moment.
Following October 7th, you got to tour in the United States to speak, right, against anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
And what was that experience like for you? Was anything kind of eye-opening or shocking?
I think we talked mostly to Jewish communities. So just to see, the kids, I think especially the kids, young kids, young girls a lot, just to see how they look at us, and they felt like my success is part of their success, and it made me, it really touched me. So
Did you ever think before October 7th that you representing Israel in sport also somehow meant that you're representing the Jewish people everywhere?
I think that feeling got stronger after, because I always represent Israel, my country, but the Jewish community is bigger than, we're all over the place, really. So I think that feeling got stronger after October 7th. Um, and now, I feel it all over. Wherever I go, I feel like I'm representing more.
It's funny because as a Jewish girl who grew up in North America, we don't tend to see many Jewish people in high places in sport. I mean, there's always those jokes that Jews aren't very good at sports.
Nachon, but you'll be surprised how many are good at it.
Right.
Many are good at it.
So maybe you give hope to these young Jewish kids that it's in our DNA. We can't
I
get it.
I really hope so. I really hope so. For sure.
So recently we saw in the UK, Aston Villa, for example, banning Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from coming. We've also seen last year in Amsterdam a lynch against Maccabi football fans. How does that, seeing events like that, seeing fans, not only the athletes, but fans being banned from sport because of where they come from or who they're cheering on, how does that make you feel? And what message do you have to anyone watching this or listening to this today? What should they do? How can they stand up for Israeli sport? Anything that you've learned from your experience over the past 2 years.
Okay, so first of all, I think it's a terrible thing not to allow fans to come see what they love. That's one. Second thing is connected to what you said before. My girlfriend, she works as a physiotherapist in Maccabi Tel Aviv football team, and she flew there with them. And again, she said the security around them was crazy. Uh, but also, she said when when she walked around there and she stayed there for a couple of days after, and she said she felt completely safe there. She had no trouble at all. So just to show like how, coming with a team representing Israel is one thing, and being there alone, feeling completely safe is another thing. You don't need to combine politics with sport. And I think
Some would say that just as Russian teams are boycotted, Israel should be boycotted as well. I mean, they're both awful, evil dictatorships and committing genocide and invading foreign countries and stealing land and occupy.
no,
So
yeah.
what would you answer to people who say things like that, who compare us to Russia, for example?
I think it's a completely different situations. Again, I don't think, when we fight and when we go on the map, we need to fight everybody. But, we didn't choose October 7th. They came in and attacked us brutally. And I don't think it's something to compare with. Israel is, we did what we needed to. We're protecting ourselves. We're protecting our people. Um, but, there was a big talk about it to boycott Israel from sports. FIFA wanted, they had a talk, maybe they're gonna boycott us. Um, and I think it's a very bad thing for the sports in general. Yeah.
How much, I'm just curious, this is just a separate question. How much does the government of Israel actually support the athletes? Or is a lot of it based on, sponsorship and things like that?
Olympic athletes are not well. paid here in Israel, unfortunately. I think athletes are mostly, they if they have sponsors, so they have the back of the sponsors, and that's how you know, Israel is an expensive country. You have to be an elite athlete, you have to have sponsors, which, by the way, is something I lost after Paris Olympic Games. Obviously, the October 7th affected it.
You
But
lost sponsorship?
I lost most of my sponsors.
Can you explain why? Were they international sponsors?
No, Israeli companies, which they decided, to go, support
Other causes?
other causes. Thank
Like
you.
like at the time
Other-
they said it's more important right now to support, the communities in the Gaza envelope as opposed to sport.
Exactly, which is, completely understandable. We left in very good terms. I left with all of them. I feel that's a big burden for me because I lost my sponsors, and to get to the LA Olympics, it's a long road, and I need that wind behind me and people who believe in what I do.
So are you actively looking for sponsors?
I'm actively looking for.
Okay, so let's reach out to the people who are watching.
Yeah,
If you would like to support Israeli sport,
amazing.
this is a great way to support Israel, to support, I almost call, sport and culture, whether it's the Eurovision or all these kind of events, it's like a public diplomacy kind of way of how you can support Israel through making those connections, whether it's the culture, the arts, sport. So I think it is a really great way to support Israel, and also just to bring to the mind of potential donors or potential sponsors that it's a great way to also, you know, support Israel in something that is completely non-political.
נכון.
So yeah, maybe it's a good platform to kind of raise awareness.
Hopefully, yeah.
All right, Timna. So we wish you the best of luck in all your training and your upcoming competition in Abu Dhabi. Stay safe. We'll be watching. And for the next Olympics, I'm coming with a much bigger.
Yeah, you have to. With all the family.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's it for today. We will see you next time. Thank you very much for joining. Don't forget to click that subscribe button and hit the bell so that you get notification when a new video comes up. Have a good week.